people still think burlesque is odd. I just showed my neighbors at a party. I said, "Oh, my friends do this." We went to the show, and Gene had a film of the guy who was doing the twirling the lights. He was dressed like a cop. I don't remember. And they're like, I could tell they're like, "Oh, you go see strippers? They get naked?" I'm like, no, it's burlesque.
They should have seen the movie we just watched.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's get started.
All right.
Let's get started with. Has anybody got a joke so I can open the show?
Can I start with a story?
With a story? But how long is it? Because we want to get to the song. Let's just get to the song.
I think we had some good stories. Let's get to the song. All right, good. Play the song. I got no jokes. Play the song.
It's Seti Binko Part 2, The Revenge. This time, it's personal. And it's very embarrassing.
Hey, it's Seti Bimco Part 2, The Revenge, where we daydream about sequels to bad movies that were never made. And before we do this story that George wants to tell, we pick a wild card question out of a jar.
All right.
To find out what will happen, which character from this movie is most likely to... I gotta open it. Oh my God. Number 1.
Ooh, what
most
is
likely
it, Tim?
to make millions. Who from this movie is most likely to make millions?
Oh, wow.
We know.
Not off of this movie.
We do?
So,
all right.
And remember, living well is the best revenge. We're just having fun with revenge.
I've already used that one. Yeah. All right, I want to tell my story.
Tell your story, George.
Well, what happened to you, George?
All right, so as you all know, I'm a big fancy pants
New York
author,
Times best-selling author.
And exactly. About maybe an hour ago, I just got back from Virginia. I had been invited to speak at the University of Richmond. It was very nice. The speech went well. I actually got to hang out with my cousin Matt, the same Matt who who sent us the fan mail text.
I remember.
Once contemplated killing himself or I listened to any of Tim's jokes. Hi, Matt.
Does he want my signature?
And no, he does not. And I'm speaking for Matt, but no, he does not. And so on the ride down, I actually decided to take the train. Getting a little sick of airports.
Oh, I got a comment. You tell your story. I got a comment to make about the train. But anyway, go ahead, George. I won't interrupt you.
Okay. So University of Richmond's a bit south of D.C., and apparently stuff does bog down after you get past D.C. because you're not on Amtrak lines. So it's pretty long rides. I was like, I maybe bit off more than I could chew, but it was nice because I got to relax. The way down, because I'm a fancy, I was in business class, so I had like this luxurious spot. I was like, chilling out, reading, playing video games and stuff, having a good time. And it was empty. I didn't have anybody sit next to me. There was really nobody near me. So I'm like, okay, I was pretty busy the whole time I was in Virginia. I'm going to watch on the way back. I'm going to watch this movie that Tim chose, The Monster of Camp Sunshine, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Nature.
Yes.
And this is as Tim calls, I don't know if this is actually a term or just a Tim term, this is a nudie cutie. This is rife with gratuitous nudity.
Yep.
Yeah. And on the way back, it was a very packed train.
Oh, no.
So I am sitting here on this train on my iPad because it's the easiest thing to stash. I'm watching fucking The Monster of Camp Sunshine. And like there's bits where nothing's really happening. And then all of a sudden there's like a half hour straight of just women slowly undressing and frolicking. And I'm like, oh. And I'm that guy in public. That middle-aged guy wearing a mask, watching a whole black and white naked film on the train. Like I'm pretty sure if I wasn't wearing a mask, I would have been arrested because people would have put an APB for me. And it got so embarrassing, I didn't finish watching on the train. I raced home.
Oh no!
From Manhattan, got here, and I finished watching the last half of the movie about maybe 20 seconds ago.
Again, George.
Again. But visual prompt. Check this fucking out. I on the first hour of this film, first 45 minutes really, because it's only an hour and a half, I have fucking full 5 pages of notes.
Wow.
I have another page of notes of the end bit, because at the end, really nothing much happens except for the most insane shit I've ever seen.
I know. Like
visual prompt. I thought maybe you drew some boobs.
If anybody does watch this movie, The Monster of Camp Sunshine, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Nature, please, I beg you, I'm warning you, I implore you, do not do hallucinogens before you watch this movie. That's your helpful tip of the week.
Okay.
Thank goodness it's not in color. If this was in color, I mean, it did, it wasn't black and white. The nudist camp that much of this action takes place at looked dingy. There was a lot of scenes of fully naked people laying in just like dirt. It was like, come on.
It was
not showing their faces.
Yeah. And going to great lengths not to show their genitalia.
Right.
Wait, it was somebody's backyard, Tim?
Pardon me?
It was somebody's backyard?
Yes, I read that somewhere on the internet.
Okay, here's another thing I wanted to bring up. There's no Wikipedia for this movie, and that's a fucking shame.
Ahead of me. I was amazed too. There's nothing about this movie. There's nobody in this movie ever did anything again.
Well, I read they did under pseudonyms.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Everybody here is a pseudonym, so I wonder if I was more, conversant in actors of 64.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You mean
We're going to talk about Ron Chaney.
You mean the actress who played Marta, Sally Parfait? That was not her real name. And she only used the word Sally Parfait because Cherry Cheesecake was already taken by a porn star.
Oh, I mean, the main character, her name was Deborah Spray. I'm like, that's
that
dirty,
is just wrong.
Right? That's just dirty. And one of the guys' name was like Hugo Pebbles or something.
Harrison Pebbles.
Was that like a Rock
Hugo,
Hudson joke? Harrison Pebbles, yeah.
Although I did just want to make a comment, and I have to agree with George about the train. Because I lived in Raleigh for all those years, and I would sometimes take the train up to New York and then go back. And the Acela line between New York and DC is like Japanese bullet train, French TGV train, boom. And it's like, you're like in Philly in like 2.5 hours. And then you're like, this is great. And then they switch to the diesel locomotive in DC. And suddenly it's like, chung. Welcome to the Confederate States of America. And it takes so long. It takes basically the same amount of time almost. I'm not really exaggerating here. It takes almost the same amount of time to get from New York to DC as it does to get from DC to Richmond.
Yeah.
I'm going to one up you. It took actually longer on the way down. And it's because we got stuck behind a freight train. Because Amtrak doesn't own those. So, just a fucking freight train was in front of us. So we were moving.
Told you that?
Yeah. They were just like, we're sorry. We're behind a freight train. We were an hour late. Like, it was – and it was already going to be – it was already pretty – yeah, like John's saying, like, D.C. to New York, it's like a 3-hour ride. And then so I was like, yeah, I'll take the train. It's not a big deal. I'm like, I don't look too closely. Yeah, it's a 6-hour ride. That ended up taking 7.
Were you late for your
the
school
whole time
appearance?
I'm trying to No, I was down there for a few nights. So I just got down there late the first night. Then I had my school appearance, my fancy talk. Then I hung out with my cousin, got drunk, was very hungover earlier today, had to pee, let's say 90 times.
Not
89, not 91, but 90.
No, 90. 90.
Did you
Last
keep track
night,
with
I
hash
think
marks?
I got up and peed every 20 minutes. It was like prison.
Look at the guy
like
looking at the black and white breasts, and he's going off to the bathroom 90 times. What's going on with this guy?
Really?
Wait, can I actually tell you a true thing that happened? So there was a brief moment they didn't have anything sitting next to me, so I'm like, I'm going to watch as much of this movie as I can. But I did have to pee. So I get up, I hit pause, I take off my headphones, I put my iPad down. I come back, it had started playing without me, so it was like broadcasting like black and white boobs to people. I'm like,
my God.
Oh, that's not good.
You had your mask on, so you're not on Twitter. So this movie that I chose, I think we'll get to it.
Yes,
it's called.
Yeah. Tim, you take you take the charge.
I'm just going to introduce it. Then you're going to, I'll introduce it. The Monster of Camp Sunshine. It was reportedly made by New York hipsters who made it as a joke, and they really wanted, they want to make a crazy monster movie and hang out with naked women. That's what I found online. Yeah, I don't know
can
where
relate to
I
this.
found that, but I found it somewhere because there was no Wikipedia page. Oh, IBDM. It had like little facts. That was about it.
Oh, I didn't get that far into
You mean IMDb, right?
IMDb?
Internet Movie Database.
Internet Movie Database. Yeah. IMBD. Wait, would you say IMBM?
Yeah.
Like you're like
I am having a
DB, not
BM.
DB.
But if I can say, because I don't want it to appear like I'm ganging up on Tim, poor misguided Tim, but
I'm
going to give you because you said they did it as kind of a joke. And last week I made the comment with Howling 3, The Marsupials, that it was a bad movie, but they knew they were making a bad movie. And I think it was the same case here. They were in on the joke.
I think so.
And I like the subtitle, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Nature, because that was almost the subtitle of Dr. Strangelove. It's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Now, that's they changed one word in the subtitle. Both movies came out in 1964. Both movies are in black and white. That's the end of the similarities on these movies.
A brief synopsis of this movie is that Claire and Marta are roommates in New York City. And for some reason, they're bored. They live in New York City, and they decide to go off. Well, one roommate, we'll get to it, but they go to a nudist camp.
Well, there's the line, even waking up in New York City is an adventure.
Yeah.
And she says, wait, where is it? My adventure that came to close as us losing our lives.
Right.
As a hound dog comes to a treed coon.
That's right.
I'm like, I had to stop right there. Like, what the fuck does that mean? That word salad. I have a question before we go any further really quickly.
Yeah.
So I actually did kind of like this movie. Like I have that rule, like 60 stuff sucks. And like this, I'm like, this actually somewhat worked. And was this meant to be in the future?
I
Because the reason I asked, because there's the weird bit in the beginning when Claire, who is our main character, she does a narration. She's saying like how my roommate Marta and I were matched up by an IBM machine.
Because that was
and then they were.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so there was like a computerized matching up of roommates, and then they had like this weird smoking apparatus,
right?
And I'm like, I can't decide if this is like really weird early 60s retro shit I've never seen before, or if this is meant to be some sort of high tech. Like they had like a weird ashtray on like a string they were passing back and forth to each other, but it was like an ash.
The IBM computer came on the scene.
Yeah, they were punch cards. So they would feed the big IBM computer, which like took up the entire room. They probably had they had punch cards for each client, and they would feed them into the computer and match them up that way.
You didn't watch Mad Men, George?
Wait, what?
You didn't watch Mad Men?
I've never.
There's a whole episode of Mad Men.
I've never seen an episode of Mad Men.
They bring an IBM computer in and like, we're going to help marketing with this. And they're all like,
Oh, so I guess it really was just a big thing.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering, just because those things, I was like, is this like a really poor approximation of what the future might be?
No, just a poor approximation of what the present is.
Our cast goes to a summer camp and gets terrorized by a mutated gardener. That's basically the plot. That's all there is to the plot.
I want to say this is like the first slasher film. He's like a proto Jason Voorhees or something.
He's proto. Who's the guy from New Jersey?
Jason Voorhees. Chris Christie.
The mutated guy with the mop. Oh, Toxic Avenger.
Oh, Toxic Avenger.
Yes.
You're right. He is actually.
And it's this movie's, and he is played by Ron Chaney Jr. So believe me,
I noticed that.
I went through the internet looking, and there's Lon Chaney, who's the grandchild, but they're not the same person. I kept looking.
No, I'm confused.
It's a pseudonym. I like the idea.
I'm confused. I thought Hugo was the slower half brother who became the monster. That was Harrison Peebles or Pebbles.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? I thought he was listed as Lon Chaney Jr.
No, Ron Chaney Jr. is Ken, who I think is the photographer.
Oh, okay.
Wow. He was good. That guy was a good actor.
This guy, he was related to the 20th century's fourth biggest villain, Dick Cheney. Not the Lon Chaney that played werewolf.
Oh, can you rank the rest of the villains, Tim?
Sure. Number 1 is Hitler.
Yeah.
Number 2, Osmond family. Number 3, Mel Gibson. Number 4, Dick Cheney. There you go.
All right, where do you come in?
20th century.
You're the
rounding
you're the villain of our
five.
thread. Tim Hamilton.
So this was nice photography of New York in 1964. Nicely filmed.
That was fucking cool as shit.
Yeah.
The idea that this was made as secret by like just dudes in New York who probably just had some like cool friends who like to take their clothes off. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. But it like as a like seeing all this 1960s like footage, like it's awesome.
It's also clean.
It was kind of clean. It looked cool as fuck. I saw a lot of like kind of like the daily stuff that you never get to see because like nobody puts it in the film. Like people like those weird ashtrays. What's the feature? Who knows?
Garbage workers. That's what we watch.
And they did not recycle.
Like
no recycling.
No, they did not.
No recycling at all.
It was all going in there.
You saw like human babies being thrown in the trash. Like
well, you know.
like we see like a close up of a garbage truck. Like, it was
Wade, you know, I mean.
Controversial opinions on SETI BIMCO.
I just saw those newspapers with JFK's assassination. They were thrown away a year later. They thought they were going to save
I don't think that was in there. There was a Beatles reference, which is always my... Like, I will say these people looked surprisingly hip for someone... Like, I always think, like, in the 60s, like, early 60s, everybody looks like fucking Android losers. I hate them. The Beatles come on the scene. It gets a little bit better. But this is 64. The Beatles... They're just on the scene, right? But they already have a Beatles meet Dracula joke in this thing.
It came on, It was like January of 64. Like they hit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they've had, but still, this is, you can already see the transformation being wrought. Like there's these groovy chicks and these fucking square dudes with weird tan lines. What? My God. So I guess the style of men's bathing suits back then was
Josh, we're going to get to those underwear.
I got to get to this now.
Underwear.
No, I got to get to it now.
Before I forget.
George, let's work into that. Let's work our way down to
these men's butts look enormous because of these tan lines. God damn it. Pull your pants down a little bit, you fucking lunatics. There's so many shots of pasty white butts that look like they are swollen.
Yes.
Because they're just like, their butt starts at the middle of the back. It's unacceptable.
I took screenshots of these tidy whities. Listeners, and they're going to be on my Instagram.
Yeah,
they are.
Tim.
Go follow us on SETI_BIMCO.
I don't do social media. This is all.
So they're waking up. They're the one girl for some reason plays this moody music on the record player. That
part was funny.
Kind of a joke because I thought, is that the movie music? Like the background music?
Are. They're playing ominous music as she's talking about this adventure almost caught them in their life. And then the one girl goes to the other, can you take that music off? It's freaking me out. And she stops. And it was like, the whole time as a record player, I'm like, oh, this is a good movie. Yeah. This is a good movie.
Because she had watched The Monster from the Hairy Planet the night before. And she was still upset.
And yet, instead of using that music when they should have, we'll get into that later too. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some of the music choices were... So our main character is a model,
Claire,
and her best friend Claire Conway is a model, and her best friend Marta is a nurse/assistant.
May I ask a question? Yes, John. I'll raise my hand. And ask questions. Am I the only one who thought that Claire was at least bisexual? She kind of she was kind of leering a little bit at Marta and maybe kind of even Susanna, her friend at the nudist camp, who was her ex-roommate. I don't know. I got a vibe. Just got a vibe. That's all.
I think you're right. And I think it was Marta, though, who's meant to be the originator because, of course, we learned that she's the nudist. She recruits the other women into their life of her nudism. So I think it was more like her being...
Into her web of naked lesbianism.
John is foreshadowing his sequel, I think.
Actually, no, I'm not.
Yeah, while Claire is out, Marta the one? She finds Claire's nudie magazines in her drawer. She's going through stuff.
Claire finds
Marta's nudie magazines.
Yeah. All right. Claire finds Marta's nudie magazines and joints and LSD.
Doesn't find those things at all.
Okay, she finds her JFK assassination magazine with all the close-ups of the Zapruder film. She's like, "What's wrong with this lady?"
No,
come on, you guys are bad at yes-anding.
You're bad at you're bad at everything.
So Claire is the nurse, right?
No, Marta's the nurse. Claire is the
man. Claire is the fashion fashion
Claire
model.
is the model who works at
this film.
And I'm going to interrupt quickly because Claire, we learn, works for $50 an hour.
Ooh.
Doing fashion. She's a regular job. Yeah, I did the ratio thing. I entered. Guess how much she gets fucking paid an hour?
$2,000.
Well, you're not going to No, that's too much, Jim. $480.25 though. Mm. So why the hell does this woman have a roommate?
And sleep in bunk beds?
Yeah, it's New York.
Oh, yeah, they slept in a fucking bunk bed. That was weird.
Because they lowered their ashtray up and down. That's gonna fall. That's gonna be ashes everywhere.
There's gonna be ashes everywhere. Start a fire.
This film is also narrated like one of those films you'd see like an instructional film.
Yeah, it is.
Like Claire and Marta, they live in the city. Claire works in a hospital. Yeah. She deals with sick people.
They have title cards.
Was kind of
cool.
Like
1920s. That was shocking
cool.
when that happened the first time.
That was a nice touch.
And Claire's like, you have to be used to being naked all the time if you want to be a model. And leered at by men.
Well,
she says
but then
Marta,
she's also not.
You're mixing up Claire
thing.
and Marta again.
Damn it. I'm wresting control from you again.
No.
Claire talks about how easy it is to, like, you have to be used to people seeing you in dress.
Yeah.
But then Ken, the photographer, is like, hey, Claire, you want to pose in a topless bathing suit?
Right.
And they just kind of focus on her. And then she walks out in her shirt. I'm like, oh, wait, are we not doing nudity in this movie?
Yeah.
But I guess she says no.
Right.
And then she does later because that's like a big character moment scene.
And they have her assistant, Lori, who's like, I would never get naked.
Lori never gets naked.
Anyone.
She's a never nude.
Never.
Yeah.
Not even if I got married.
She said, I don't even take my pants off to shit. It gets really messy. And everybody just kind of stares at her awkwardly.
I have to go to the laundromat. I have to go to the laundromat every day.
It's really catching up in my bills.
Claire is the nurse, right?
No!
Damn it.
Come on. Tim, you're just fucking with this.
No, because I wrote it down. And I'm like, oh, now I gotta think backwards.
Here's the thing. Take a pen and write down Claire equals model.
Claire equals model.
Claire equals model.
I'm gonna write it
Marta
right now.
equals nurse. And let's just confuse it further. Lori is secretary who works with Ken, the photographer. And then there's Susanna, who they just talk about for a while. And I guess she owns the nudist camp. She just kind of introduces.
Right.
She must have had a speech impediment because they always weirdly dub her.
Oh, they're all badly dubbed.
Yeah.
Did you, speaking of Susanna, though, did you hear that her last name, because they asked for Susanna, and her name is Susanna. Her name is Susanna York, i.e., the English actress Susanna York, who got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, playing Alice in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Which I don't remember seeing because, of course, I got dragged out of that movie theater when I was 4 years old because my aunt thought she was taking me to see a Western. And she also played Lara, Superman's mother, i.e. Christopher Reeve as Superman, in Superman 2, and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Oh.
So what year was They Shoot Horses?
That was 1969. This is 1964.
Oh, so after
I'm
this
thinking
movie.
that the director/writer, Ferenc Laroger, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, when Susanna York passed away on January 15th, 2011, because he was trying, he really must have wanted to work with Susanna York. And then on January 15th, 2011, he said, oh, I guess she doesn't want to do my movies because, she was dead. She was dead.
Where did you dig up this joke?
But right up to the end. Now, I'm kind of setting up my revenge movie here. This is why I'm pointing these things out. Kind of just sowing the seeds slowly so you get this.
So is George with Lori pooping in her pants. I can see this coming.
You knew that movie was coming from George.
That was just improv, guys. Pure improv.
So Marta gets... So the plot, basically, Marta in her job. She leaves some chemicals on and they shower some rats. Or somebody does. It doesn't matter. But she works with rats. She's testing rats for makeup, Max Factor.
So many rats, yeah.
Tormenting all these rats so that women can wear their mascara. And they get some chemicals dropped on them. They go insane. Somebody off camera throws the rats on her as if they're attacking her.
When they are throwing the rats, I was like, I'm like weird, creepy guy on the bus watching a black and white naked film. The naked stuff hasn't started yet. Hooting and hollering as this woman gets rats thrown at her.
I have another question,
everybody.
This is about Martha falling out the window. Now, do you think she fell out the window or she climbed out? Because like that one rat was like in her hair, and like if she went out front ways, how could she have grabbed onto the ledge? And if she went out back ways, maybe she could have grabbed onto. I'm just trying to figure out how she could have. What is the scenario where falling out that window she would have been able to grab onto the ledge? So I'm wondering if she just crawled out to get away from. Oh, I know what it was. She crawled out thinking there was a ledge on the window, and there wasn't, and she's just hanging out on the windowsill. That's what happened. I'll bet you.
You're still working on your.
She makes some bad.
Your prequel.
She makes some bad decisions. Martha. Yeah, rats are thrown at her. She almost falls out of a building in New York. Which
earlier that morning, she dropped a hand mirror and broke it. 7 years of bad luck.
You're right.
And man, that bad luck. I thought she was going to get hit by a car. I thought that's what was going to happen. But she made it across the street.
Man, so much.
She made it across.
Like so much footage of her walking through the streets. I'm like, she's getting run over.
First of all, it takes them forever to get to Camp Sunshine, and it takes them even longer to get to the monster. And the title is The Monster of Camp Sunshine. But like the first half hour are like two girls working in New York. I'm like, come on, let's get on with it already.
57 minutes.
Smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, the bad. Anyway.
I'm sorry, Tim. Have I offended you? I'm making fun of your movie.
No. I just couldn't get.
Tim,
I couldn't
is
get
also the.
I was going to say her bad luck was going to be going on a date with Ted Kennedy. So that historical joke.
Too soon, Tim. Too soon.
You still
too soon.
Tim.
Too soon.
That's not the only bad luck to remember because the cat scratches Claire, and she's like, "We've never been scratched by our cats before."
She's never.
I just want to point everybody out because this movie was from 1964. That cat's dead.
Do you think?
That cat's dead? Yep. I just want to. Tim gets sad when I mention some of this. So I just want to mention
that cat went on to scratch many more people.
Do you really think the cat's dead, George? Oh,
yeah,
man.
Its children might be still with us, just like that cat from Beware the Blob.
Its kids are dead too. Yeah, that cat's dead too.
So they're going to go to this news camp, but also the doctor who created this chemical, he's like, "Oh, this stinks. It's terrible. I better put it in a jar and throw it in the river." Like responsible doctor,
like you do in 1964. And I can assure you, I've gotten rid of that. Okay, and now, excuse me, I have another question. Okay,
I have the answers.
So this jar. I mean, like, I think it would. I guess it must have gone up the Hudson, like upstream.
Yeah,
wouldn't I?
Somehow.
Because I know, like, I knew from growing up downstate that like they were driving along the Taconic Parkway, which is like Westchester, Dutchess County. Right. So this thing, first of all, it got into a bag and made it upstream, like. I don't know, about 70 miles.
Well, there's a story there how they got in a bag.
I don't think it was. I don't know how it gets in the bag, but I think the guy who I call Gilligan, like he looks like Gilligan,
who's fishing.
Like the guy's fishing. He might actually still be in New York because he actually drives 70 miles. It says in one of the title cards.
They're being that careful with their plot.
I guess, and he takes it. It falls off a bridge and breaks. And creates the monster.
What was that crab in Little Mermaid? What was that crab's name?
Sebastian.
He was down there. He was collecting things, putting them in bags. That's what happened.
Was he a crab? Excuse me, I have another question.
Why Sebastian?
Was Sebastian a crab or a lobster?
Yes.
Can we just say crustacean maybe? Because I'm not sure.
He was a crab.
Yeah, was he a crab? Oh, okay. He was
definitely a crab.
He's dead too. He was good eating.
He's a cockroach.
He's definitely dead. Yeah. That movie's like set in like the 1700s. He's dead. And know who else is dead? Ariel,
The Little Mermaid.
No.
Yeah.
Prince Eric.
No,
Yeah, they're all dead.
she's not.
Yeah, yeah, they're dead. Prince Eric's dead.
You know who else is
He
dead?
died.
Larry from the Three Stooges. He's dead.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Three Stooges, the monster is Shem Howard.
And
We just ruined something for John.
they get to the camp. Oh well. This fisherman, he collects jars. I guess he's taking it home. He's got a big collection of jars at home that smell terrible to share with his wife.
This isn't super important, Tim, but
What?
you missed the first time they go up to the camp where everything's cool and they're just naked.
Right.
Oh yeah, they're just.
And there's just like them frolicking for like 15 minutes with these guys with giant white asses.
Right.
And you can see the shadow of the camera
Playing like some Scott Joplin like ragtime music. Like I was expecting like a paddle boat
Yeah.
going up the Mississippi to show up. You know, it's like that's what, like the music they were playing in the beginning in the apartment. They should have been playing then. But no, it was like this. What the hell was that music? It just like didn't fit. It didn't fit anything.
Well, the men were squares.
Yeah,
They're like, we're not listening to these long-haired Beatles and Kinks and all these long-haired hippie types. Who else? Kinks, Beatles, the Hermits. We're not listening to them.
We're not going to mention Rolling Stones, huh?
Those damn monkeys.
Tim hates Mick Jagger. So they go up there and she becomes a nudist. She agrees to pose nude in the topless bathing suit, blah, blah, blah. They decide they're going to go back up because...
John needs to set up his sequel here.
Oh, John's
I have a question. Didn't that scene when she finally did the photo shoot in the topless bathing suit, there were no railings on the top of that building?
I hated that.
That seemed
was
very dangerous. And it looked like a real nasty roof, like tar paper. I'm like, oh, I bet you her feet were black too. I mean, that just looked really, really dangerous. I mean, a good wind. I mean, I guess they picked that roof because it had an excellent view of the Empire State Building. But like one good wind... And it just would have blown her off the top of that building. I was very concerned.
I was too. George wasn't.
No, I didn't care. I was looking at her boobs.
He doesn't care about people. So they go back to the nudist camp, which brings me to something. The thing you always dread. I got some nudist jokes.
Okay.
I love this because they're so bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. If you're driving, I recommend people pull over to the side of the road.
Yeah.
So the impulse doesn't
turn your car
take
off.
you to steer into like
oncoming
traffic. All right, let's hear him, Tim.
Get a tube, put it in the exhaust pipe, bring the tube around, put it in your window of your car, stuff all the air vents so no air can get in. Start the car.
Just take a short nap.
Start the car. Okay.
Wow, Tim. Wow, Tim. All right, what's your joke? Let's hear your naked jokes.
Now, I'm sorry. I'm only going to mention him once. Why didn't Hitler want to go to the nudist camp?
Because he didn't want to show his Sig Heil. I don't know.
He did not see the point in it.
Tim, you just fucking repurposed a joke that Senor Kabumo did a few weeks ago.
I don't care.
You fucking hack.
I mean,
is that it?
I didn't steal it outright.
Can people get back on the road?
No.
Yeah,
Can people get back on the road now? I guess not.
Why wouldn't the photographer go to the nudist camp?
You mean the photographer that clearly did go to the nudist camp?
Yeah, but there's another one. There's another one named Joe.
There's another one.
Because he didn't want to be overexposed.
Well, you're close.
Oh,
he knew all his photos would be overexposed.
Oh, I thought being Tim, it would have still been. He did not see that coming.
I should have done that. Good one. Let's re-edit it. Let's redo that.
Let's not.
I'm gonna take credit.
Can people get back into the lane of traffic now, or is there another one?
No, one more. Bad things come in
more.
threes.
That is true.
How many people?
No, I don't.
How many people from
these
the
aren't good
Osmond
things.
family does it take to screw in a light bulb at the nudist camp?
Just
Zero,
one
because the Osmonds wouldn't go to a nudist camp.
Well, they did go, but I'm not really sure.
Tim. No, I think you're wrong. I'm calling you out on this one. There's no way.
I'm not sure how many it takes because
he's no buddy.
There's no way little Jimmy went to a nudist camp. I'm sorry.
Well, they're older now. This is the older Osmonds going to a nudist camp.
How old are we talking? How old's Donnie?
They're adults right now. They're all adults. They all got gray hair.
What's Donnie look like when he's naked? Tell us.
What? Wait.
Actually, Donnie's still looking pretty good. Must be that Mormon.
Some work
Let's all stop and look at a picture of Donnie Osmond.
But let me tell you how many Osmonds it takes to screw in a light bulb at a nudist camp. I'm not really sure.
How many?
Because it doesn't get far beyond all of them shouting at Wayne Osmond to please put his clothes back on. Wayne Osmond. Wayne Osmond is known as.
I got it. I got it.
He's not good looking Osmond.
Oh, I'm looking him up right now. Oh wow, yeah, he's weird looking.
I was gonna make a Motorhead joke, but I was afraid Lemmy would like come out of the grave and choke me.
Yeah,
made a joke about him being ugly.
Yeah.
When you start trashing American institutions like the Osmonds, I'm starting to reconsider my participation in the Seti Bimco 2, the Revenge podcast.
20th century's second worst villains.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why Lemmy and Motorhead? Is there a connection between Motorhead and the Osmonds?
No, my joke was going to be, how many members of Lemmy does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many members of Lemmy?
But it's the same joke. Motorhead. Same joke. They're all screaming for Lemmy to put his clothes back on. Like, Lemmy might crawl out.
Why Lemmy? Have you seen? We live in a planet with like 8. But yeah, but there's so many ugly people.
He's not good looking.
We live in 8. There's 8 billion people on this planet. Why are you picking on Motorhead?
He's the gardener, which I want to point out. Wearing clothes. If you are at a nudist colony, everyone is supposed to be naked. But the gardener, for some reason, fully clothed, shaking, staring at naked women, masturbating himself to sleep every night. Obviously. So that's our gardener. I just want to paint a picture.
He's the half brother of Susanna, who owns the camp.
Doesn't talk.
He seems like there's something wrong with him. And he drinks this water that the scientist throws in New York in a jar, the disease water. He drinks it and becomes Champowered from the Three Stooges.
Champowered? Oh, Champowered, yes.
Yeah. He has like a mo sort of like he's got like latex maybe glued to his face. His hair is messy. He's wrapped in chains. He's carrying an axe, and he starts stalking the luscious naked ladies who are frolicking and swimming and playing with sparklers. Let's all pretend that Champowered is work.
He's very like Lenny. He's like a cross between Champowered and very Lenny from Of Mice and Men, I thought.
Yes. You're actually right. Yeah, because he's like he's a dum-dum.
He played him on stage.
He did not. Tim, I am no butting you today. I got to stop this. You're right, Tim. He did play him on stage.
Yeah, he did.
I do want to point out the doctor thanks the great surgeon in the sky that no human was infected with this serum. I just remembered that.
That was an interesting line.
Yes.
Can I share my favorite line and delivery?
Sure.
So the naked ladies are all having fun, and then Marta, who is the nurse, to remind Tim because he can't keep it straight, and Susanna, who owns it, they go back to the house at one point and discover that Hugo, who has been chained up since his unfortunate transformation into one of the Three Stooges, has escaped. And we zoom in, and this is one of the only lines of dialogue that they don't just talk over of Susanna, because she speaks like an idiot, and she goes, "My brother's a monster."
My brother's a monster. A monster? It was an accident. Some chemicals in the water. Chemicals in the water?
And her voice sounds like that. And they agree not to tell anybody that her brother, who is transformed into a monster, has broken loose. They're like, we'll keep this
under our hat.
We don't want to ruin
So they don't tell us. Yeah, this maniac, this guy who became like a teenage Ninja Turtle rat or whatever, is running around with an axe covered in chains. We're just not going to tell the other naked folk. My brother's a monster. That's
sample that.
I mean, that should be that. This is the promo. Just me repeatedly saying, "My brother's a monster."
I like her.
Yeah, I got to listen to that Seti Bimco.
If I close my eyes, it's like I'm watching The Monster of Camp Sunshine, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Nature.
And Lori wanders off. She's the one that will never get naked no matter what, and she goes swimming naked.
Yep.
And the monster
she
watches
gets naked.
her.
We see her boobs. We see her butt. We don't see her front though, because man,
they were careful.
This movie is very.
They missed a few bits. They missed a few bits, but they
just a little bit. If you really peek, if you're a real leering pervert on a bus watching this,
or the train,
you see some stuff. That's what I meant. The train.
Or
it's definitely a train.
Class on Amtrak. Yeah.
Business class Amtrak on the 1107 train out of Richmond, Virginia.
Welcome to the Confederate States of America. Chug, 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 chug.
But we don't ever see a dong, which is pretty funny because there's like that long scene of them all undressing out of the car.
The van.
And Ken, the photographer, oh my God, he carries everything in the world and he carries it like in front of his crotch repeatedly. I'm like, come on, guy.
Yeah, when Claire was
so
like doing the
silly.
same thing. Like she had a magazine up, like she's holding this magazine the whole time, and they're just unpacking the van. I think that was like a big, I think that was a big bag of was it charcoal briquettes? I mean, that he was pulling out. I mean, I don't know. It was silly.
She was reading her magazine, Zapruder Weekly, all about the assassination of James Dean.
Oh, this is Tim. This is Tim's new obsession, Zapruder film. I have a question, actually. Oh, hands up, a question. Was it a joke that Claire smoked all the time, or like as she's undressing, she's smoking every time?
Right.
She has a cigarette in her hand in every scene in this movie, pretty much. Or was it just 1964?
I think it might have just been 1964.
Yeah,
man, this is why the 60s sucked.
She suspected she might be pregnant. She had to get a few cigarettes in
and
there.
this was pre-Roe v. Wade. So,
oh jeez,
yeah, that's why there was that scene in the beginning of all the babies being thrown in the car.
I'll just keep smoking throughout my pregnancy. If I deliver an underweight baby, maybe it won't survive. Those were your options.
Maybe it'll be a Hugo.
Those were your options. Yes.
I know.
That's true. She just give the baby to Hugo. Oh man,
so the gardener
would be a great revenge sequel. Damn it!
Maybe I'll use it. So Hugo, he's going to attack the naked Lori who's swimming, who's laying naked on the side of the river after swimming. She's like, I'm so tired and naked. He steps in a bear trap, which I'm like, wow. And the title cards pop up. The monster retreats to lick his wounds. Then they're having a party for Claire because they apparently late in the filming decided the reason they came up the second weekend was Claire's birthday party.
Right.
This was not mentioned before. They're all playing with sparklers,
naked,
having a good time, naked. Well, sparklers. A lot of them had bottoms on at this point. I did notice this. And then Marta, who is the nurse, Tim. Marta's the nurse.
I got it written right here.
She goes
Marta is the model.
She goes running into the field. No, Tim. Marta's the nurse. She goes running into a field right in front of them with a sparkler, and suddenly Hugo comes running after her with an axe. Like,
whacks her.
Kind of tackles her. Maybe hits her with an axe. It's very hard to tell. Because she does have
I didn't get that either.
Yeah, she has a little blood on her forearm.
Yeah, she has fake
and
blood.
And then, he attacks them. He attacks the other people. Claire hits him with a pie.
Yes.
Oh, Marta called the doctor too, saying you need to save him. He's like, I figured out how to cure this disease that affects the rats.
I'll be there in an hour.
He calls the army,
and
he takes a motorcycle.
He says, he looks at his clock. No,
less than an hour. Sooner.
And
I'm getting on the Amtrak train.
And then that plane takes off from whatever regional airport that was. And as they got closer, I started, I guess my mindset, I was getting used to the movie. I was like, he's going to jump out of that airplane, isn't he?
Which, actually, that's kind of impressive that they had the budget for this.
Not only does she call
the
the doctor Marta, she also calls, what do they call him, the purveyor of violence or something like that. And there was this guy.
Yeah, it was the Agents of Violence.
And I swear to God, this guy, this was the first movie he was ever in that he didn't have to take his clothes off. Because I think he was he was bona fide. I wonder if he was the writer director. Because I think he played the stable boy in Joan Crawford's snuff film. And that's what I think.
Can you describe this guy? Because I think
did he have were they sunglasses? And he had it was almost kind of like the 70s porn star mustache and
he was an offensive Italian stereotype. And he had a camouflage ascot on, and he wore he was dressed like a flamboyant Italian director. Right. He had a really weird mustache. He's like a mix between a porn stash and a Gomez Adams.
He's basically George Patton.
Tim has a question.
Did you all see? This is what I want to get to. The photographer, nudist camp. He's wearing the biggest tighty whities. He's pulled them up as far as he almost to his belly button.
That's why he has that awful tan line.
They were tighty whities, not a swimsuit. I think they were tighty whities.
Yep.
Don't you, John? Tidy Whities.
I guess it was a black and white film. It's hard to tell, but I would guess. Sure. I'll say Tidy Whities. I'm uncertain, but yeah, I would. It could go either way.
He stole them from the Fatty Arbuckle Museum.
Much like me in college, it could go either way.
Oh, jeez.
Wait, Tim has to do his big joke again. That's going to land with all those fans of 1920 silent comedy.
What, Fatty Arbuckle Museum? That's upstate.
Yeah, you fatty.
That's at Terrytown. It's on the train stop. Fatty Arbuckle. He was big.
I don't know if it's true. Yeah, Fatty Arbuckle was a big silent film comedian. He was also a large man who accidentally crushed a woman to death while having sex with her, and his career was ruined.
Yeah.
It's funny, kids.
Back then,
nothing brings down the humor podcast.
It seems like back then that wouldn't have even mattered. Like
it did matter back then. He's the first scandal.
But his underwear was so big. One more thing before we leave the underwear. His underwear was so big.
How big was the underwear? How big was it, Tim?
They were so big that when people saw the skid marks on them, they asked how many children died in the accident.
That actually is pretty good when you think about it.
Don't think about it too much.
Let's go out on top, Tim. Let's go out on top. That was good. That was a good one. But let's not tempt fate. Let's go out on top.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up real quick so we could go out in Tim's awesome joke. So the agents of violence have been alerted, who is the Italian guy, and the agents of mercy have been alerted, who is the doctor. The doctor's going to parachute in. The guy with the axe is being hit with pies and chasing them. The guy wearing the tidy whities that Tim is fixated on pulls out a gun from somewhere and keeps shooting at him while smoking a cigarette. And
dynamite.
Then this is when the movie gets really insane.
This is when you wish you had done mushrooms.
Because they start bringing in stock footage. So we see the Italian guy, one of the soldier, running through the woods. Reminded me strongly of other movies we've seen like this. But then, we start getting this clip footage of fucking cavalries and World War II storming the beaches of Normandy.
Soldiers crawling under barbed wire. It was.
I think they should Roman chariots at some point. It's just this insane battle, and they're all coming out to fight this monster, who is
not
again
really a monster,
just kind of like a brain damaged, a brain damaged guy with leprosy.
Keep shooting him.
Who drank toxic water.
They shoot him a million times, and then the next morning, and we see footage of a topless woman from behind just waving her hands, and we see another lady who got hit with an axe but just has a little blood around, laying there in the woods, all these explosions going on.
Marta had some fake blood on her.
Yeah,
that's
Marta. And the next morning, they're all standing around. The photographer, Lori, his girlfriend, maybe Claire, Marta, Susanna. The doctor, they're all there, our principal characters, and they're standing around this little tiny rock. And the doctor guy picks it up and goes, "This is all that remains of the monster of Camp Sunshine." It's a fucking rock.
I thought it was his brain, but it does look like a rock.
He starts crying. He puts it on the ground, kicks dirt on it. And they just kick off their clothes and wander into the woods. The end!
I guess it's revenge time.
It is revenge time.
All right.
Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you. I'll get you.
Revenge.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
We'll do that. Our wild card question: who's going to make millions? Did somebody think?
It's a tough one.
Nobody thought of anything. I'll go first. Then.
Go first. Yeah.
Make millions.
Okay, Tim.
So our nurse, Marta.
What's her name, Tim?
Marta.
Yes. Good job.
So remember, she found the magazines of nudie magazines in Claire's drawer. Is that right?
No, Claire found them in Marta's drawer.
Claire finds.
Yes.
Marta, the nurse, she's the instigating nudist.
Claire is the one. Okay. So Claire has these nudie magazines, and she also has these Zapruder film magazines. She's all into the Kennedy assassination. And
I have to interrupt, Tim. The woman who has the magazines is Marta.
Is Marta, I know.
Claire finds them, yes. No, because you're saying Claire again. You're a fucking lunatic. These names aren't even similar.
Marta. Cool. Let me write it down. I'm going to write this down.
Now, at the end of the podcast, he writes it down finally, folks.
Marta.
Claire is model. Marta is nurse. Claire is brunette. Marta is blonde.
Claire So she goes to work.
Yeah. Where does she work? Where does Claire work?
There's Zapruder Film Weekly. She works for Zapruder Film Weekly. They branch out. They make magazines about the other Kennedys, and then like they're lucky enough that Ted Kennedy like drives a girl off the bridge and lets her drown, and that branches off into Ted Kennedy magazine with all sorts of photos of his victims. And when who's that filmmaker that made JFK?
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone.
When he comes calling, he's making his film, and he hires her as a researcher because she knows everything. She's got all these pictures on her walls of Zapruder film blown up, and she becomes his assistant. They win an Oscar. Did they win an Oscar, John?
Let's say they did for the story.
They win an Oscar.
Yeah.
She makes millions.
And that's your story?
And sadly...
Who is this, Tim? Tim, who is this?
It's Marta.
Is this Claire or Marta? Because I think it started out as Claire and it became Marta again. I think you're an idiot.
That's my story. That's my quick story. That's all I got. Man. Jeez.
Yeah. All right, John, you want to go next or should I?
You go next. This is a tough one.
All right. It is, and I'm actually going to play the game of semantics because it's the number one. It was most likely to make millions.
I'm sorry. I'm an anti-semantic.
I know that's why you have to keep bleeping out all those bits you say. But the most likely to make millions of infected people is Dr. Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Harrison, of course, is Marta, who is the nurse, the blonde woman. She works at this factory where it's literally, we see his workstation after he thinks he's cured it. It's crawling with rats. Mm-hmm. Like he just has the rats out. Like his desk is like crawling with rats. This motherfucker didn't cure nothing. The infection got into his brain. He went bad. And he, with his millions of rats, lets loose in a plague in New York City. And the entirety of the greatest city in the Western Hemisphere is subsumed with people becoming one of the Three Stooges, which is actually, there's actually more than Three Stooges because there was Curly Joe, there was Shemp, there was Curly, there was Larry, there was Moe. There might be another. I'm not that big a Stooge fan. I just know that. And so the entire populace is transformed into Stooges, and it goes across the millions of Stooges are made by Dr. Harrison. Okay. He discovers pretty late after like about 8 million people are infected because he's upstate running around just wearing a lab coat, letting his little Dr. Harrison flap in the breeze. And then one day they all descend on him and they tear him apart. And the only thing that's left is a little rock. Oh. And his cousin comes up and finds this little rock and goes, that's all that's left of Dr. Harrison, who made millions. That little rock is his penis.
Oh, he made millions.
And they kicked him. He made millions of zombies. Yep, civilization's destroyed. Everywhere they go, people are poking each other in the eyes, going, "Oh, wise guy!" and all shit. We're doing curly shuffles.
I thought you were going down the road of he became big pharma. He made this plague, then he made the cure. And he's like,
everybody
everybody dies. Everybody becomes zombie. There is no money in the stooge zombie world.
Just the people who created COVID, so they could make money off the cure.
Okay,
no, Tim.
Okay, John.
Tim, your far-right ideologies are infecting our beautiful podcast.
I think there was Joe something was the last Stooge because he was on the
Curly, Shemp, and Curly Joe.
Curly Joe was on the Abbott Costello show.
Curly Joe Dorito. Dorito was his last name.
Oh, that's not his name. That's not
Dorita. I know.
There was Curly Joe Frito.
Curly Joe
Cheeto.
Curly Joe.
Curly Joe Lay's potato chip. That was a weird one. He didn't last that long. Curly Joe Pringles.
I was just gonna.
That guy was a pervert.
Curly Joe Cheeto.
Okay, well,
John, what's yours?
I'm going to go with. Actually, there were two people who made millions on this in partnership. Nice. It was Susanna, the brother of. The half sister of Hugo, the quote unquote monster.
The monster.
Again in this universe was turned into a baked potato at the end. And Dr. What's his name? Dr. Harrison, who came up with the toxin and allegedly the serum or the antidote. And it's kind of sort of like a Sweeney Todd Demon Barber of Fleet Street. So Susanna puts the baked potato that was once her brother in like this clear acrylic box and opens up a roadside baked potato bar called Camp Sunshine Baked Potatoes. But, and they are the best baked potatoes you could eat. However, she's in cahoots with Dr. Harrison, who is putting that toxin in the sour cream that goes into all the baked potatoes. Everybody starts turning into stooges, like George said, but here's where, so they're making them, and so, but some are Shemps, some are Curlies, some are Curly Joes, and they all like divide up into like armies, and they're all like battling each other. And so not only have they made money off the baked potatoes, but then they're also charging more money to get the antidote serum, so you will not always be a stooge. And that's how they made their millions.
Wow. You built.
At any point, does Susanna say, "My brother's a potato"?
My brother's a baked potato.
That's her catchphrase, probably.
That's what it says at the Camp Sunshine potato thing. It says, "My brother's a baked potato."
Would you like a baked potato to be your brother? Come to Camp Sunshine Baked Potatoes, where we treat you like family. If your brother is a baked potato.
I love it.
I like how you built on George and George built on mine. It was all
there. You go.
A seamless wild card question.
We're a good team. We're a good team. You know what? And our stupid stories made more sense in this movie. We had more internal logic and consistency than this movie.
I mean, they weren't any worse.
Less boobs, though. Tim, lift up your shirt.
But we had more monster.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah. There was definitely more monster at our camp.
Yeah.
All right.
Who's going to read their
Who's doing revenge first?
Yeah. You want me to go first? I can go first. My revenge movie is The Monster of Camp Sunshine versus Trog. Susanna York, played by Natalie Drest, takes the remains of her half-brother Hugo, a baked potato, to England and the Anthropological Institute run by Dr. Brockton, Joan Crawford. Dr. Brockton has been trying to unsuccessfully bring the corpse of Trog back to life with no success. Dr. Brockton tells Susanna she can't help her. Undeterred, Suzanne ponders how she can bring Hugo back to life. She goes down to the local pub and meets a local girl named Natalie Drest, played by Susanna York. Now, not only is there revenge in the movie, but the backstory kind of has a little revenge too, because the writer-director of The Monster of Camp Sunshine, one Ferenc Laroger, which I think is something dirty if you hold it up to a mirror.
Right.
He had been trying to get Susanna York for ages and ages and ages. So finally what happened was he drugged her. So actually she's drugged through the whole movie. She doesn't deliver any lines. She's just kind of slumped over in the chair. But he got her for the movie. It was the only way he could get her. Natalie is out cold from drinking too much alcohol. And the remains of Hugo, being excited by seeing Natalie, gives Susanna an idea. She takes Natalie back to the Anthropological Institute, chains Natalie to a chair, like with the change she did with Hugo. Dr. Brockton puts Hugo's remains, i.e. a baked potato, on the machine she invented. The combination of electrical and sexual stimulations brings Hugo back to life.
Ooh.
Natalie, being kept in a cage for her own safety, and Hugo is frustrated by this. He breaks out of the institute and goes into the village on a rampage. Dr. Brockton, realizing she must stop the rampage, uses Natalie to bring Trog back to life and sets him free into the village to battle Hugo.
Teenage Trog.
Trog and Hugo fight, causing more destruction. In one instance, Trog knocks over a pig urine-fueled car and it explodes.
Jeez. Again?
Trog and Hugo continue battling when a turtle worshipping cult of zombies in the guise of a motorcycle gang called the Living Dead join in on the battle. Finally, the Aqua sub team comes in. There are film clips of the landing of Normandy, the London Blitz, and the liberation of Auschwitz to simulate the battle. However, Frédéric Leranger does not, I repeat, does not use any images or references to Hitler, because even mentioning Hitler would just be wrong. Did you hear that, Tim? Even mentioning Hitler would be wrong. Take a lesson out of the page of the legendary radio director, Frédéric Leranger. After Hugo Trog and the Living Dead are vanquished, the women are led into the woods to a nudist colony by Cliff, played by blonde, muscular, and homoerotic English icon Judge John Hamill. You see them taking off their clothes as they're walking in to the woods. However, a production assistant does get into the shot because Joan Crawford takes off her clothes, and who really wants to look at naked Joan Crawford, 70-something ass? And so the production assistant puts her robe back on her, and she flings it off, and she throws the robe back on, and then fade out. The end.
The end.
I want to see Joan Crawford naked.
Okay.
I do. Kind of morbid curiosity.
George, when we're done here tonight, Google it.
You know, I'm sure there's some deep fakes out there with that AI.
Probably.
Yeah.
They just put her head on the body of
John. I want to commend you on that. Was like a Tim Hamiltonian level of pre-prepared
Thank
text.
you.
I didn't know that. Like that. Yeah, that was like you were throwing sheets of paper behind you as you finished reading
That's
them.
right. That's right. I was like somebody like on the Jack Benny radio show. You know, it's like, Mel Blanc or I don't know. But yeah, no.
The man of 1,000 voices.
I guess I'll go next.
Go ahead, Tim.
All right.
The Monster Camp Sunshine, Part 2, The Revenge. I don't know what the title is besides that. So what we thought was Hugo's brain, maybe, or a rock, or a baked potato. It was actually the compressed bones of a badger he ate while running wild in the woods that he vomited up like some...
like an apple pellet. Nice.
He did this to throw off his enemies, and he ran away into the woods and made his escape. And Hugo wanted revenge against the army for attacking him so viciously. He became a newsman who went to Vietnam in 1965, and he filmed the Marines burning those thatched roofs in Vietnam, and got the film on the news to his great joy. But he got fired for chasing women with an axe. So then he goes to Woodstock so he can join the counterculture to learn how to help the anti-military protests and attack the National Guard. But he ends up taking the brown acid and only remembers chasing Janis Joplin with an axe. Man.
Wait,
man. It was a real groovy. It's a real downer, man. Then he decides to go to Altamont so he could buy some LSD and slip it into the Army's water supply in California. But the Hells Angels gave him an award for chasing women around with an axe, and they got him blackout drunk. It was a heavy scene, man.
Yep.
So because of his...
That lingo really suits you, man.
It does. It just completes the picture.
Yeah, man.
Because of his habit of chasing ladies with an axe, he was then inducted into the Army and sent to Vietnam. While there, though, the radio DJ was killed, and he was close by, and he had to quickly take over the radio DJ's duties. Once on the radio, he would loudly grunt, "Good morning, Vietnam. Vietnam ladies, I chase you with axe." And he would only play Doors albums. And he drove everybody insane until the city of Saigon fell, and the war ended.
That's why the city of Saigon fell.
Yes. Hugo made it back home and felt more at peace as he hitchhiked the backwoods of the north.
God, we're only in like 1973. This is going to go on for like 2 more hours.
He felt at peace at home. He hitchhiked the backwoods of the Northwest. He collected rocks along the way, and he kept them as pets. He thought, what an interesting idea. He could sell pet rocks as money-making idea. But he was stopped by the police for loitering and taken in and beaten up and sprayed by a hose. And worst of all, he saw on the desk of one of the police officers a Christmas present that officer had received, something called a pet rock. He lost his mind because he saw his idea had already been used. He killed many officers and blew up the police station and escaped into the countryside. We don't know what ultimately happened to him. But people still catch a glimpse of him today thinking he could be... What, George?
Sasquatch.
The end.
Where's the revenge?
He got revenge on the army.
Who? Did he?
Well, he tried. He tried and failed. He tried and failed. Are you nitpicking my plot? He tried to get revenge.
I lost the thread. I'll be honest there. Like I was so terrified that we would continue in these like weird fucking Forrest Gump like intrusions into like history up until modern day. I'm like, we will never end.
I was going to take. Oh, the title is "The Monster of Camp Sunshine: The Revenge," or "Good Morning, Vietnam Ladies, I Kill You with Axe." There you go. Or,
oh God! All right, that I've lost my will to do anything after that.
We're going to collect all these and publish a book.
Yeah, it's gonna be real good. People are gonna be like, this book has the most mentions of the word Hitler I've ever seen.
Just the stories.
And I read Mein Kampf.
Just the stories.
And I did a master's in World War II history.
It's insane. All right, so I don't know what my title is yet. I'll be honest, guys. Like I mentioned up front, I only finished watching the end of this movie about 3 minutes before we did this. So I'm totally spitballing here, but I do know.
Raise your hand if you want help.
Blink twice if you've painted yourself into a corner.
Right.
Want help.
Nah. So here's what it's going to be. There's a character. I mentioned him very briefly, but I don't know if this will be in a part that makes it on the air. So after the doctor, Dr. Harrison, throws his stooge-making potion into the city of New York, there's the water surrounding the city of New York, I should say. There's an extended, quote-unquote, humorous sequence of a character who I call Gilligan with a pipe, who is fishing somewhere on the shore. And this guy, in very slow, painful detail, pulls out a hot water bottle or a whoopee cushion, and he looks at it, and there's whimsical music playing, and he takes it, and he puts it in a bucket, and then he throws out his thing again, and he pulls out what seems to be an inner tube for a bicycle. He looks at it, he keeps it, puts it in a bucket, pulls out various rubber pieces of trash, nothing, unsavory, like no condoms or anything, just weird fucking rubber garbage. Then he pulls out a shopping bag. Inside the bag is the bottle of like whatever this horrible disease stuff is. He unscrews it, sniffs it, puts it in his jar, and decides that was a good day's catch. And he goes and he travels 70 miles, as we're told by a caption, upstate. Entire time tootling along these little country roads of upstate New York. His catch of the day just kind of barely sitting on the edge of this car. He pulls to another bridge somewhere in upstate New York, just some fucking little over a creek. Takes all his treasures out, puts them there, puts his little rubber hose, his little rubber inner tube, his little jar of horrible causing disease. He has plans for this stuff. Big plans. But unfortunately for him, while he's refitting his fishing pole, he knocks it off into the water. It breaks. It creates our monster. Mm-hmm. Now the revenge portion is fucking Gilligan with a pipe. He was really looking forward to chugging that water. And he's just like...
You mean the chemicals?
He turns around. We don't see it. The chemicals. He doesn't know it's chemicals. He's very funny. He's kind of like Marcel. He's like a mime. Right. He does this whimsical shit. There's no talking. He turns around. He sees it's happened. And he just kind of... For the first few moments, he just hangs his head low. He's just distraught. He sees the broken glass. He knows whatever that noxious smelling chemicals were, they're gone, spread downstream. And he decides... Since he can't have these chemicals, someone's gonna pay. Yeah.
So Sebastian the Crab. Is that why that musical thing got out of the water?
Yeah. I'm on the edge of my seat, man.
Yeah, man. This is like, and he takes his fucking fishing pole. He pulls his lures. He takes all those barbed hooks. He attaches them to his fucking fingers.
Because
that night,
because one time at band camp. No, different movie.
No, but then, you're closer than you think. Because then that night, he enters the dreams of the people in that town.
Oh, jeez.
And he uses his clawed fingers to kill their children.
Wow.
Because this is who has to make him pay. He doesn't know who got that water, why that water, what sort of cruel god
Chemicals.
did that. The chemicals made that water, the chemically water go away. Now, if he had been somebody who was able to converse with humans, he might have heard like, hey, that naked lady place up the road, Hugo, the weird guy, went nuts and chased around with an axe, and then all the militaries of time and space descended upon there and turned him into a baked potato. He didn't know that. Instead, he haunted the dreams of these people living that street, by the way. Can you guess the name of that
was
street?
it Oak Street?
Ithaca.
Was it
You're pretty
Maple
close.
Street?
It was
Pleasant Street.
no.
Oh, I know. Zapruder
No.
Street. Zapruder Street.
Yes, it was Zapruder Street. No, it's Elm Street. You
That was
fools.
my next guess.
And this revenge story, do you know what it was called?
Nightmare on Zapruder Street.
Nah, it's called Masters of the Universe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doesn't he
Yeah,
have to
be
get
right
burned
up
to
to the
death in
end,
a furnace
George.
first?
Be right up to the end.
You're nitpicking my plot. This guy needs to be burned to
Let's
death.
call it Jaws. Oh, he gets burned all the time.
No, I mean he needs to
drinks-
get burned to death before entering
I should have said
dreams.
that. Dude drinks noxious smelling chemicals. He fishes out of the harbor of New York City. You think this guy isn't a lump of scar tissue from all the shit
That's
he
right.
I thought he
suggested?
didn't get to drink it.
That's right.
All right.
He didn't get it that time,
Oh,
Tim,
that's
but his day's catch was like a bunch of rubber that he was just
Oh.
laying out in the sun because he was going to eat that rubber.
Good show. Good show. Yeah. Did John pick a movie?
Because I have picked a movie, a film.
Yes.
Ooh, what's the movie?
It's on Tubi. Now, it's gone under a couple title changes, but the original title is Leslie, as in Van Houten, My Name is Evil. Leslie, my name is evil. Because you figure, who are the pillars of the first season of Steady Bimco? Emmy and Tony Award winner B. Arthur, Academy Award winner Louise Fletcher, and mass murderer Leslie Van Houten. The three pillars.
Are they all in this film?
Is this?
And this is a movie about a young man who serves on the Manson jury who falls in love with Leslie Van Houten. It's a Canadian movie.
Really?
Oh.
Wow.
Is this a true story?
I'm
It's a totally
excited.
true story,
Did you say
Tim.
true? That
Is
that
the young
man is
man you,
No, the young
John?
man is not I.
no. His name is damn it.
Yes,
I forget
Tim.
his name.
Yeah, that's good. Good joke.
Good joke, Tim. Yes, and
Waters.
You're right.
Waters.
Waters. Roger
pals
Waters?
with her.
Pink Floyd.
Not,
Max
not
Waters.
Roger Waters. No.
Leslie Van Houten was in Pink Floyd? What?
You know, Pink Flamingo's Waters.
Oh, okay.
Damn it.
John
John
Waters.
Waters.
Yeah, no, I'm just
He's
just
pals with
drinking
her.
your chain.
I know you know his name.
That's funny because you said jerking the chain, which is a reference to old-fashioned toilets, and John also means toilet.
Yes, I'm aware
Like John
of
Waters.
that.
So
Yes,
his name is
aware of
Toilet
that.
Water.
I'm aware that John.
your name's John, too.
I am aware that
Oh,
John
shit.
is also a term for a toilet. Yes, I've been aware.
And
I have been
That's
aware of
unfortunate.
that since I was 5 years old, George. But thank you for
Oh, shit. How did you find out?
thank you for
Did
opening
somebody-
old wounds.
John, why are you crying?
My brother is a baked potato. That's why I'm crying.
And the podcast. We can't
Let's
get
go
rid
on
of
that
that.
note.
Well, if you want to email us, SETIBIMCO with an E at gmail.com. We are on Instagram. SETI_BIMCO on Instagram and Reddit and Good Pods. Listen to Good Pods because I've met some people there. The people in Australia who do milk, I don't care. I'll mention them. I listen to their podcast. It must be them who's listening to us.
If only we get on Truth Social.
Check our Instagram. I'm going to post some pictures of that guy in his underwear, and that's it for this week.
And the guy not in his underwear, too, so you can see his giant white butt.
Oh, yeah. I'm not coming.
Yeah. Yeah, giant white butts.
Give us 5 stars
Enormous.
in all the places you listen to us because we are everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that it?
everywhere.
Do you have a
I think
We're
that's
like
it.
God.
joke to get us out of here on?
Oh, you got a nudist joke,
No.
Tim?
You got a lot to edit this week, or this is going to be an hour and a half.
I don't think you heard me. I said in the late 1800s, also a term for jerking the chain to flush the toilet was gay Hitler. That's what that was. That's what you said.
You're going to go on that. Wait, Tim, do you feel good about that joke? Do you feel good?
Just look at me like I don't believe
let's
you.
get out. Let's
Look it up, George.
Let's get out of here, guys. No, wait. This is taking a very tragic left turn. All of a sudden, I think we should have ended. I think we should have ended with "My brother is a baked potato." There.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Nope. Don't forget to learn the toilet.
My brother's a monster. A monster?